Good morning, grade 2s, and welcome back to WorksheetCloud. I hope you've had a lovely morning or a lovely day so far and that you are ready to learn with me. We are going to do grade 2 maths together today, and if you have any questions throughout the lesson or after the lesson, then you can just ask mommy or daddy to send an email to grade2@worksheetcloud.com, and we will try and answer your questions as quickly as possible. So if this is your first lesson that you're watching with us, my name is Teacher Taryn and I do all the grade 2 maths. Today we are going to learn how to fill the 10. But before we can start, we've got to wake our brains up a little bit. So we are going to count. We're going to start at 10, and I can ask you this in a few different ways. I can say, let's count forward in tens. Let's add 10. Or I can say count in tens. So if I add a 10, I'm going to have 20. And if I continue to count in tens until my 100 block is finished, then I'm going to count 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. Well done, you're very clever, grade 2 boys and girls. Now today I want to introduce you to my friend, and he's standing over there and his name is Mark. And Mark is actually quite a happy little boy. He's quite cheerful, but he is a little bit sad today. And there he's got his frown, and he's sad because he is struggling to remember his friends of 10. Now friends of 10, we can also name them as bonds of 10. And maybe you've already done this last year, but they are very, very important when we want to add or subtract. So, Mark's friends decided they are going to help him remember his friends of 10, and it was his birthday party that Saturday, and they decided that they were going to use this as a good way to teach him or help him remember his friends of 10. So here you can see his friends are here. They've got some party hats, there's some decorations. And his friend Jonathan puts his hand on his shoulder and he says, "Don't worry, Mark, we have a plan." And they brought some gifts, and there are the gifts that are sitting around them. And Mark's dad is a traffic officer. And here you can see he is dressed. And he says to Mark, "Mark, before your party starts, I'm going to get you started with the first clue to remember." And he said, "When I stand in the middle of the street and I help direct the cars or the traffic, I always put up one hand to either say that they can stop or that they can go." And here you can see his hand, and he has 5 fingers on his hand. Now remember that, because something has to go with 5 for it to be a friend of 10. And he said to Mark that, "Mark, what you haven't seen and what is hidden is the hidden 5 that is in my cap and my face." And he said, "Mark, that is your first clue. 5 and 5 make 10. And his friends said to him as soon as they arrived, they said, "Mark, we know that you love aeroplanes." And his party was an aeroplane-themed party. And on the balloon, there was one aeroplane on the balloon. And they said, "Mark, do you see that there's one aeroplane on this balloon?" And they said, "Remember that 1, because there's a hidden number that you need to remember goes with 1 to make 10. And that hidden number is the 9. Do you see the 9? The head of the 9 is in the balloon, and the leg of the 9 is in the string underneath. So 9 and 1 make 10. And Mark couldn't believe it, because already for that day he had learned 2 of his friends of 10. He'd learned that 5 and 5 go together and 9 and 1 go together. And one of his gifts was a bunny rabbit. And this little soft toy, his bunny rabbit, had 2 ears. Can you see his 2 ears there at the top? And his friend said to him, "There's a hidden number that goes with 2. And if you have a look, there is an 8 around the head of the rabbit and around his body. And 8 and 2 make 10. And that was his third clue to remember his friends of 10. And then later on in the day, they were playing a game, and they were playing with some spinners. And this had 3 tips. And on this, there was a hidden number. And they said, Mark, can you see the hidden number that goes with 3? That gives me a friend of 10. And I can start to see it already. And there is a 7. And 3 and 7 give me 10. And the last toy, and this came from his friend Jonathan, who put his hand on his shoulder, and it was a little toy camel. And they said, do you see the camel has 4 legs? But there's a hidden number that goes with 4 that gives me 10. And that hidden number you'll see in the neck of the camel and all the way around into his body. And 6 and 4 give me 10. And by the end of the day, he couldn't believe that he had remembered and learned all of his friends of 10. And he tried to practice them. He remembered first his dad said to him, if I hold my hand up and there are 5 fingers, and there's a hidden 5 in my head and the cap, that 5 and 5 make 10. And there was a balloon with 1 aeroplane on it and the hidden number that was 9. And there was a bunny rabbit that was one of his toys. And that bunny rabbit had a hidden 8 on his head and the body, and the 8 and his 2 ears make 10. So 2 and 8 make 10. And the toy that they were playing with, the spinner, had a 7 and 3 points. So 7 and 3 make 10. And the last one was the toy camel. And the camel has a hidden 6 in his body and his neck, and 6 and 4 make 10. Now, grade 2s, that is very important for you to remember, because what we are going to do next is going to need our bonds of 10. We are going to add some numbers together, but we are first going to count to the next 10, and that's what it means when I fill my 10. I need to fill whatever I've got to first make 10, because 10 is a good starting point, because anything that I add to 10 is a very easy sum. So let's have a look at our method. This is how we are going to do it. I have a 7 plus a 9. Now, 7 is a very naughty number, and he wants to be a 10. My first number always wants to be a 10. So number 7 says, I want to be a 10, and I'm going to throw a tantrum, and I'm going to go and sit in my 10s basket. Now, it's never good to do that. But nice number 9 over here, 9 says, that's okay, 7. I'm going to give you some of my numbers so that you can become a 10. So 7 is in my 10s basket, and 7 can't stay here in this basket until it becomes 10. Now 7 and what makes 10? Now we remember in our story, the 7 and the 3 make a 10. So 9, that was so kind, said, I'm going to give you some of my numbers, but how many numbers must 9 give to 7 to make him a 10? He needs to give 3, yes. So 7 plus 3 is 10. But now we need to take those 3 away from 9 because he gave it away. So we color them in there at the top. Now 7 plus 3 is 10 because that was the whole point. We needed to add the 3 to make it a 10. But our sum isn't finished, so we draw an arrow over there. Now we need to add what's left of 9 to our 10. And this is an easy sum because we have 6 left over, so we're going to plus 6. And whenever we add a number to 10, or we add a number to 20 or to 30, we know that that 0 is actually just a placeholder. And when we add them, by doing flashcards, we will just take that 6 and put it on top of the 0. So 10 plus 6, the 6 goes in the place of that 0 and it will be 16. Or you can count on and say 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And that is our answer. Now, why do we do this long sum to get to 16? Because whenever we jump first to the 10, whatever we add after that is very easy. Let's try another example. We have 5 plus 7. Now remember, our first number is a very naughty number. He wants to be a 10 and he throws that tantrum. So number 5 says, I want to be a 10, and he goes and sits in his 10s basket because he wants to become a 10. And nice number 7 over here says, that's okay, number 5. I'm going to give you some of my numbers. So 5 and what gives me 10? We learned in our story that 5 and 5 gives me 10. So 5, what do I need to add to make it a 10? I need to add 5. So now we need to take that 5 away from 7 that very kindly gave some of his numbers. And we take 5 away. And now we are going to have 10. Because 5 plus 5, we needed to make 10 inside this basket. But now we need to add what is left of that 7. And we have 2 left. So we're going to add 2. And anything added to 10 is easy because I just take that 2 and put it in the place of the 0, in the place of our placeholder. So 10 plus 2 is 12. Very easy. Okay, let's have a look at our next example. We have 8 plus 4. Now, when we write this sum, we always need to write it equal to a block. And that block just means the same as a question mark. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm now going to work out that answer, and then I'm going to tell you at the bottom what my answer could be. So whenever we write a sum, when we do a story sum, or when we do a minus or a plus sum or a times sum, we always need to write it as equal to a block, because that block is where we are going to eventually put the answer. Okay, so we've got 8 plus 4. So remember that 8 is very naughty because 8 wants to be a 10. So 8 goes and sits in his basket. Now we're going to do the sum without the picture of the basket. So we just write the 8 right underneath. 8 stays the same, but nice number 4 says, that's okay, 8. I will give you some of my numbers to make you a 10. So 8 plus what gives me 10? 8 plus 2. Can you see how important your friends of 10 or your bonds of 10 are? Because you need to be able to do that very quickly in your head. So 8 plus 2, and where does that 2 come from? It came from nice number 4 that gave some of his numbers. 8 plus 2, we need to take those 2 away now, and that gives me 10. And now I need to add what is left over there. And I'm going to add 2. And that is going to give me 12. Now I don't have any equal to signs in this line. I've only got arrows. And that is because I was still busy working it out. I took the 4 and I split it up into 2 and 2. And I got to 12 at the end. But now I need to write that sum once again. And now I'm going to say that 8 plus 4 is equal to 12. And that is how my sum is going to look. I'm always going to have the sum at the top equals a block. That's my number sentence. I'm going to have my working out in the middle. And then I'm going to rewrite my sum because remember I said that block is I don't know, the question mark. And then I'm going to replace that question mark with my answer, which is 12. Let's do another one. Naughty number 7 says I want to be a 10, so I write my 7 underneath. Nice number 6 over here says that's okay. I'll give you some of my numbers so that you can become 10. And 7 and 3, well done. 7 and 3 gives me 10. So I need to plus 3. But now that I've added it here, I've got to take it away from number 6. So 7 plus 3 is 10. Now I've got to add what is left over. And I have 3 left over. So 10 plus 3 is easy because the 3 I put in the place of the 0, and that will be 13. My sum is not finished because here I just used arrows. And now I need to write the rest of my sum with my answer. So I'm going to rewrite my first line. 7 plus 6 is, and I worked it out to be 13. Let's do one more together and let's see who is very clever. See if you can do this one before I tell you what to do. Naughty number 9. I put number 9 there. I've got plus 4 and nice number 4 says, I will give you some of my numbers. So 9 plus 1, well done. And that gives me 10. And I take that away from the 4. And what do I have left? I have 3 left over, and that is 13. Now I rewrite my first line and I say 9 plus 4 is 13. So grade 2s, you are very, very clever, and I'm sure this morning you put your thinking caps on because that was a brand new method for you to learn how to do your plus or minus sums. So thank you for watching grade 2s. And I hope that you've enjoyed the lesson with me today. And this lesson was brought to you by WorksheetCloud. And until the next time I see you, goodbye.